Where did you go to college?
So I did not go to college.
You did not?
No.
So you're self-taught?
I'm completely self-taught.
And you said something fascinating to me. You said that back when you started, you could do this self-taught.
Yeah. So I came of age in the 90s. So I class of 96 from high school. So late 90s, early aughts. It was fairly easy to be self-taught and figure out how to do a lot of this stuff yourself.
Okay.
It is a lot harder now. There's a lot more stuff to learn. And finding out some of the older information is just hard. And figuring out where you need to start is just hard. And we hired a now junior consultant in as an intern a couple of years ago, towards the end of the pandemic. And he had zero IT experience. So we brought him in from scratch. And my hardest thing was, what the hell do I have to teach him? Because I have to teach him everything.
Yeah. How do you teach someone everything in IT? Yikes.
Yeah, like that. With that scared look on your face. There's a lot to go through. I mean, we didn't know how long this whole process was going to take. Right. And we paid him a salary to effectively learn. And I figured it would take 6 months. I wanted it to take 3. It ended up taking about a year for him to pick up enough that we felt comfortable enough that having him work on customer systems with somebody shadowing him. But yeah, it's a lot. Like, you've got, like, back when I started IT, corporate IT had been around for 15 years-ish, 10, 15 years. So everything was relatively basic. Everything was relatively straightforward, and things were a lot simpler and a lot smaller. Now, every single company relies on computers. The bigger the company, the more complicated things get. One of our customers, they've been in business for 80 years. They used to repair dashboards for buggies. Now they repair dashboard consoles for cars.
Wait a minute. They repaired dashboards for buggies?
Well, 80 years.
Oh, that's crazy. Look at how time's changing. They're still in business.
Yeah, they're still in business.
Wow.
So, they now take the computer that comes out of the console of your car, gets sent, when the dealer pulls it out, it gets sent to them. They repair it. They resolder the chips. They resolder the motherboards. And then they shove it in their warehouse. And then when the dealer needs another one and they request a core, they ship them the core.
Wow. What is the biggest difference that you've noticed over the past 10 years in the IT space? Besides how much more complicated it is.
Besides how much more complicated it is. How much physically smaller things have gotten while storing so much more.
Interesting.
So when I'm going to use some computer nerd terms here, and then I'll break them down into plain English. So when I started in IT, I worked for Earthlink Network, the internet service provider, Earthlink.net. So when I worked there, I worked my way up. I worked there for 5 or 6 years. So I worked my way up from tech support to managing a bunch of systems. So I bought some of the larger systems that we had at the company there. So they were the big set of hard drives I bought was 500 gigs. Yeah, 500 gigs. And it was, so all of IT uses standardized 19-inch racks. So 19 inches wide. So it was, 19 inches wide and 4U. So a U is it's a unit of measurement. A 1U is about 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
So it's about, yay tall. So basically hard drive that way. So I had one of those 500 gigs. I bought, and that was like $30,000.
For 500 gigs.
For 500 gigs. So your phone's probably that size.
Right.
My phone's a terabyte. In, a package that big. So I recently bought off eBay a SAN, same size, 4U, 19 inches wide, 120 terabytes, $5,000.
120 terabytes.
So
for $5,000.
Next scale up for $5,000. And granted, no, keep in mind that's eBay. So retail pricing is, a lot higher than that. But I found one of these things on eBay. And yeah, so I mean that's 100 terabytes. So that's how many gigs? 100, 10,000. God, I can't even do the math in my head. 100 times 1024 is how many gigs it is. So, 1024, 10, 24, 0, 10, so 102,000 gigs, give or take.
And you're spending $30,000 for 500 gigs.
Yeah, I spent $30,000 for 500 gigs 23 years ago.
Size has gotten smaller. So where are we heading in this? What's your prediction when it comes to 5-10 years? You're in a space, you've owned your company since 2012?
Yeah, give or take.
Okay.
I mean, things are getting faster every 18 months. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing called Moore's Law. So basically Moore's Law says that CPUs and computers will get twice as fast every 18 months.
Twice as fast every 18 months?
And we've kept on pace with that for the last 30, 40 years.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And every year for the last 5 or 10 years, they've been saying that that's no longer going to be the case. And it still is. We're still making them faster, twice as fast every 18 months. So things are just going to get faster. We're going to be able to do more with less. And that's been IT's mantra for the last 20 years is do more with less.
Yeah. What is really, I mean, are you surprised at the level of growth? I mean, does it shock you sometimes at how fast things are moving? And
it does, but it doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, it surprises me that it actually happens, but
Yeah.
I sort of expect it to.
Interesting.
I mean, I've because of when I started working in IT,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got my first job basically in 98, working for Earthlink. And so things have been evolving a lot in
Right.
IT over the last 20 years. I mean, when I started, space shuttle program was a big thing. And I now have more computing power in my cell phone than they had to launch the space shuttle.
Okay, say that again. You have more software in your phone than they had to launch a space shuttle?
My phone that's sitting here on the floor,
Yeah.
it's turned off because I'm a good guest. So my phone has more computing power than the space shuttle.
That's insanity.
Don't forget, space shuttle was built in the late 70s.
I know.
And NASA never upgrades. So this is one of the things you got to remember about things with NASA is anything they send out now, they designed 20 years ago and the specs are based on the stuff 20 years ago. So all the cameras and stuff on things like the Mars rover, well, they look really cool, are ancient. And they make these high-res pictures by just taking lots of pictures.
Right.
They just stitch them all together, and that's how we get these nice giant pictures of Mars. Those cameras are ancient and take very little power. And that's one of the reasons that they send out that old stuff is because it takes so little power.
If you enjoyed what you saw, like, share, comment, and forward to someone that this will bring value to. Thank you so much for all the support. We appreciate it.